complained when it rained. They complained during times of drought. They complained when the crop was good. They complained when it was bad. They complained when it hailed. They complained when it didn't hail. They complained. And if you're a part of that, why should anybody believe that Jesus is able to save people? You know, it's like saying, I've met a doctor who can cure the blind. Now, who in the world is going to believe that? But if you say, you know, I've got 6 people who can come and they can tell you that they were blind and now they see, people say, I can't believe it. If that's true, if he can cure the blind, those blind, why can't he cure other blind? And the credibility is gained. And the world today no longer believes that God actually changes the lives of people and that they live differently. It is because they have heard us, they've heard us shout as loudly as they've seen us as angry as they are. They've seen us go for our rights just as much as the world goes for their rights. And the world says, what in the world is there to believe? Why should I believe in your Jesus? A clear message, a credible lifestyle, and we just keep moving through this passage because we're not to the top of the hill yet. Cheerful, you know it would begin with C, didn't you? If I, after all, had clear and credible, it would have to be C, cheerful submission. Now, when this was written, who was ruling? Caesar, of course, but Nero. Nero was in charge, and he's the one, you remember, I told you he killed his mother. And did some very despicable things to Christians that we still read about in history textbooks today. And this is what Peter says. Shock. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it is to a king as one in authority, or to the governor who is sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. For such is the will of God, that by doing right you may silence the ignorance of foolish men. Act as free men. Do not use your freedom as a covering for evil, but use it as a bondslave of God. Obey him. Nero, Stalin, Hitler, Churchill, Bill Clinton. Submit. He's been put there by God. You speak about him. You do not malign him. You pray for him because he is your leader. That's what you do as a Christian. You say, but in America we have the privilege of choosing who our king is. Yes, of course, and that's why you get involved in politics and you vote wisely and you pray about your vote and you take your voter's guide and you ask yourself what it is that you should do. And of course, the point is that we live in a participatory democracy, which the people didn't have in those days, and we take full advantage of it. But at the end of the day, we realize that ultimately we are to submit even if it is not our man or our woman who gets elected. That's what the text says. And then he goes on to say that we should submit to civil authorities. Verse 18, servants, be submissive to your masters with all respect, not only to those who are good and gentle, but also to those who are unreasonable. You should hang on to your rights and get an organization that says Christians are having their rights trampled on. No, for this finds favor if for the sake of conscience toward God a man bears up under sorrows, suffering unjustly. He says, what credit is it, the next verse, if you suffer justly, if you get what you deserve? Don't think that that's for Jesus. But if you get something you don't deserve, what does he say? This finds favor with God. God is watching. God is watching. You say, well, shouldn't we be involved? Isn't it Christians who have been on the forefront of good legislation? Yes, be involved. Whether it's a Wilberforce against slavery or whether it is child labor laws, oftentimes it was Christians who brought about all the good changes that they could. And what we should do today, if you're into term limits or even if you are for the NRA or whatever, go ahead and do your agenda. Just don't take all those agendas and nail them to the cross and call them Christian, so that in the eyes of the world, the cross of Jesus Christ looks like an overused bulletin board. Don't do that. Don't do that. The cross must always be distinct. We must recognize today, dear folks, that there are many people to whom we can appeal with persuasion and with love and humility who can get onto our ethical agenda, and that's perfectly fine, our moral agenda. But let's not tag it with the name Christian, and let's not go out of our way to antagonize the world that we are supposed to represent Jesus Christ to. That's the point.
Yes, my friend, this would involve a much longer discussion, but I believe that through some unfortunate associations we have in the minds of Americans today, they think of Christianity as a political muscle rather than the gospel of Jesus Christ, which is the power of God. Keep in mind that I'm always saying that we need to be involved in politics, but with a sense of independence, so that we never confuse the gospel with a political party, because at the end of the day, the cross indeed must stand alone. Let us pray that it will remain so.
Thank you, Dr. Lutzer. On today's broadcast, Dr. Erwin Lutzer brought part 3 of The Cross and the Flag, another message in his series on why the cross can do what politics can't. On Monday, don't miss the conclusion. Running to Win comes to you from the Moody Church in Chicago. When it comes to faith and politics, we do need clear teaching. This 8-part CD series can be yours as our thank you when you give a gift of any amount to support Running to Win. Just call us at 1-800-215-5001. That's 1-800-215-5001. Online, go to offerrtw.com. That's offerrtw, all one word, .com. Or write to Running to Win at Box 11174, Chicago, Illinois, 60611. This is Dave McAllister. Join us Monday for our next edition of Running to Win.